What we do at Dale is very different from mainstream school. A lot of our students have tried mainstream and it hasn't worked for them. They've not been able to fit into the classroom, the way that the classroom is run, particularly when they get from year 7 right through until they do their school certificate. They don't cope well with moving around from one class to the next with different teachers. Dale stands for Dynamic Alternative Learning Environment. This means that the way that we do learning here is different from how you would do it in a normal school. If we can give them hands-on education, that's where they learn the best.
Life generally works through the process of you do something, you get a reward. Here we have exactly the same principle. We need grass that is mown. We need to have gardens which are cleaned. Well, the students all do this, and they back-charge the school for their labours, for their effort. We then, in the last week of school, have what we call the enterprise payoff. The kids have 4 days of fun, excitement. The money they have earned through the year is spent doing the things that they enjoy.
The Dale Flying Program allows us to take our students out of the classroom to fly aeroplanes.
What we've found is that this flying program becomes a wonderful learning by doing in quite a unique and wonderful way.
The way that we map the aviation to the curriculum is mainly through science. Through science we learn about flight. We can do our experiments in the classroom and we can learn about propulsion, we can learn about lift, we can learn about Newton's laws. When it comes to actually practically doing that, we can blow up a balloon and we can let it go across the classroom. But what better way is there of learning than actually going out to the airfield, getting into an aeroplane, taking off, and looking at the wing and the way that the air is hitting the wing whilst you're in the aeroplane, looking at the instruments and learning about air pressure. And having a qualified pilot to do that as well there is no better way of learning.
The LIFT program started about a year ago, born out of the Dale Flying Program. Originally, the founder, Chris, started with the Dale School in teaching children life skills using aviation. And we found that there was a bit of a need for that around the community, so myself and Paul came on board with Chris at that time and said, all right, we'll lend our weight to being able to help with the program. And LIFT was really an acronym that came out of that, and it stands for Learned, Inspired, Friendship and Trust. And we believe they're 4 keys that people can use to be successful in life, and regardless of whether you wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or you want to be a mechanic or whatever you want to do in life, they're the sort of skills that you need to be continually successful.
When I was at school in year 11, I was told by a fairly key person in my life that I was too fat and too dumb to become a fighter pilot, which was my dream. And at the time, they were probably right with the facts, but I decided that I could make it, and I started to exercise and I started to study a whole lot harder, and ultimately I've achieved my dream of becoming a fighter pilot in the Royal Australian Air Force. I have a passion now to see kids realise their potential, to see that whilst the facts may not look good at the moment, that if we do the basic things well and we really strive and set our mind on a course, we may just be surprised at where we end up. And the key message is you've got to try.
One of the big successes that came out of the LIFT program and the Dale Flying program was really Zal in getting his GFPT, he's getting his licence. And that's certainly a big success for us. But really it's about all the little successes that you get each day that you work with one of the students.
I first met Zal 18 months ago when I was volunteering here with a program for the Year 10 boys. And we ended up playing basketball and wrestling on the court, and he was a great kid, but I could see that he had very little future direction and he didn't have a whole lot of goals in front of him. But when we talked about aviation, it really turned the lights on. I could see that it was just something that he really engaged with. And so I then flew with Zal November last year. He'd just gone solo, and I started working with his more advanced flying skills in preparation for his intermediate flying test where he could take passengers flying. And we've developed a good relationship, and I've just seen Zal go from a 16-year-old with very little direction to a 17-year-old that can now take passengers flying in an aircraft. But the exciting thing for us is that Zal's now at a place where he's got some future vision and he's got some idea of what he can achieve, and he's got the tools available to make that happen.
I think the Zal story is fantastic because I remember a day, I don't know, probably last year I suppose, must have been early last year, and trying to motivate Zal really to get into his schoolwork, and it was a struggle. But and I asked Zal, look, what do you want to do? What would you like to do? And he said, I'd like to be a pilot, but I can't do that. That'll never happen.
I thought it was going to be a lot harder, but it's fairly simple.
He was nearly expelled from school. He was this close. It was either leave or you're being expelled. So he hated school with a passion, didn't like the work, didn't like getting out of bed to go. When we went to Dale, he had to catch 2 buses to get to school because we had to come from Raymond Terrace. He was happy to get out of bed and go to school most days. We had the odd days that he didn't. And down there, just their different learning program, he was accepted more as a person, not as teacher-child type thing. And I think that was the start of him progressing to where he is now. If it wasn't for Dale and the flying program, Zal wouldn't be here now.